Hello and welcome to Staying Ahead of the Curve. I'm Jeff Snyder, Vice President, Senior Consultant with Camac Retirement Group, and we're coming to you from Washington, D.C. at the Center for State and Local Government Excellence Retirement Insecurity Summit. And guess who's back again? We're catching up again with Lisa Massena. She's the Executive Director of OregonSaves. So Lisa, great to have you back on the show.
Good to see you, and thank you.
So when we last spoke, you had just launched the pilot program of, I think, 10 to 11 employers.
Yes.
And so that was several months ago. I think that was back in July. I want to say July 1st, but I could be wrong. You know, I forget things.
Very close timing. That was our launch date, yes.
Awesome. I got one right. All right. So I wanted to catch up and see how things are going. And maybe you can give the audience an update on the first in the nation auto IRA program.
So I always like to knock wood.
Okay.
So far, so good.
There you go.
So good.
Hopefully pick that up on the mic.
There you go. So things are coming along well. We're doing two things. We are now working our way through Pilot 2. So the Pilot 1 employers and employees are pretty well all situated. They've been saving for a while now. Those Pilot 1 employees, as of a few days ago, had saved $30,000. So
wow.
Pretty impressed by what they've been able to sock away in a short period of time.
And so that's $30,000 in a short period of time. And you know, these are people who work for smaller companies, small businesses.
They are. So these are hairdressers and daycare workers and folks who work in industry but who haven't had a retirement program or plan available to them at work before now. And I'll just say I'm so impressed by what they've been able to do.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. So working our way now through Pilot 2. So our Pilot 2 employers, in Pilot 2 it's 40 employers and about 2,000 people. So 4 times as many employers and more than 10 times as many employees who will be eligible. And they just started their first contributions last week. With the benefit of those contributions, we're now close to 200 people participating in the program and right around $40,000 saved. So very early days, they're just getting started, but again, we're seeing some impressive results and very excited about what we're seeing.
That's great, and a credit to you and your team and the state of Oregon and the treasurer, Tobias Reed, who's actually been on the show as well, for all the leadership in being the first in the nation to kind of build this program.
Yeah, so Treasurer Reed has been out actively making sure that folks in the state are aware of where we are with the program and the benefit that it's having, both again for Oregonians as savers, working savers, and as employers. And our next phase will be rolling out what we call Wave 1, which is employers 100 and up. And the system opens for those employers to begin facilitating on October 15.
Could you remind our audience just kind of the underlying investment structure of the program? I mean, they may or may not. Hopefully, they've seen all the interviews. I'm sure they have, but they may not remember. If you could just kind of share the investment structure too.
So it's a very simple investment structure, and intentionally so. What it's really the heart of the program are target retirement or target date funds. I think you know that I believe strongly that when you give people asset class lineups, you are asking them to make the same decisions that a professional money manager with all the tools and all the experience makes. So we like target date, target retirement funds as the heart. And then for people who want to save but don't want to take any risk, we have capital preservation, so they can add more of that if they desire to do it, or be 100% in cap pres. And then on the other side, we have an S&P 500 index fund so that folks who want can add more growth. But what we really expect is that folks are going to be in those target retirement funds with most of their investments and most of their savings.
And I think that is probably coincides with a lot of what the industry data is, that when you had these as defaults and you see where the assets are flowing over time and are expected to flow over time, they're flowing into these, what I would call QDIAs, or these target funds, or whatever the plan has as a default.
We think simpler is better, and I think it helps people to really understand for themselves what they're doing, and I think that's really critical for the long term.
Yeah, one of the things that you and I have talked about, and we've talked thematically about this show, is how important it is to have a good investment structure and foundation, but then communicating, educating are important components as well. And I know you and your team have done a tremendous amount of education, both within the state and outside the state. So before we get outside the state, I want to hear a little bit about your strategy. How it's really boots on the ground.
It is pretty boots on the ground.
Don't mean to use a militaristic. It's not militaristic in any sense, but it is. you've got to shake hands and get to know people and get them comfortable with this thing.
So there are at least two things that we're doing. So so the big picture is we want to make sure that employers, in particular who will be facilitating, know what we're doing, and meaning know what's coming in the state of Oregon and understand what it means for them. And so we've had communication come directly from the Treasurer's office to employers who are part of Wave 1 to let them know, here's what's coming, here's what you can expect, here's some things that you can do either to exempt out of the program because you offer a plan already, or to prepare to facilitate. And we are following that up, actually smiling and dialing, making phone calls to our employers on an outreach basis, just to spot check that they got the communication, it went to the right person, they know what they need to do, and they don't need any help doing it, or if they do, that they know we're there to help them with that. So that's part of our outreach. We've also worked very, very closely with our financial literacy, financial capability nonprofits in the state to make sure that they are aware of what's coming. So when folks come to them and say, hey, this is happening for me at work, should I participate or should I not participate, they can help that person through the specific decision.
Yeah, I think that's important for people to understand, that there's a lot of communication that happens that may not always be people may not always be aware of. I mean, you can read about these plans, but there's a lot of effort that a lot of people are putting in to do that. So we're here at the Center for State and Local Government Excellence, and I know you really believe in sharing ideas and sharing. And so you have been instrumental in reaching out to your colleagues at the various states and different organizations to kind of share lessons learned. Is that a fair statement?
We are, yeah. So all of the states and local governments who are interested in or active in this space, we talk on a pretty regular basis. And I don't think anyone, ourselves included, thinks they have a corner on the market for good ideas. And so we want to share information back and forth with regard to what's working, what might be similar in one state or one municipal area versus another, what might be different. So we've had the benefit of learning so much along the way. We also want to share back and make sure that if we've had a lesson, I don't want anybody else to have to take the same stripes that I took unnecessarily in any particular area.
Yeah, we just had Keith Brainard on from NASRA, and they do a lot of research, and though he's focused more on defined benefit plans, there is this collaboration, and he made the comment that the states are really the laboratory of democracy, and I think that's where you get different ideas and people can leverage off of each other, and that's what the beauty of these types of events. And I think this is the first of several stops this week for you, kind of educating and sharing, and I think it's just amazing the work you've done and the fact that you're willing to share some of this information and the lessons with your colleagues, and whether it's California or Boston or wherever, Massachusetts, and I think that's just a credit to you and the folks in Oregon.
Well, and again, lots of people working very hard. You like to hear me, I like to say to you when we talk, we know we're standing on the shoulders of many people who have worked very hard and are working very hard. And I think, again, we benefit from what others have learned. And there are a few things that we've learned along the way and are continuing to learn. Probably the biggest one is really simplicity. Yeah. You can't make it too simple. You can't make it too obvious or clear for the folks who will be participating. So, that's the number one thing I think that we would share back.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming back on, and we look forward to catching up with you again as the program continues to evolve and more people are participating.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Jeffrey.